it's interesting because you're talking about how you got it, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So in the '60s, a lot of brothers got it from Allah himself, right? Right. In the +70s, and they got it from brothers teaching in the streets. And then in the '80s, you could say like a lot of it was by way of like a lot of plus degrees that were put out there. Like a lot of people hold a lot of plus degrees and were saying like a lot of high scientific, fantastic. A lot of it was bullshit though. You know what I'm saying? But, But that's how a lot of brothers got attracted to this. And then in the '90s, it was by way of music. But what was interesting is that like a lot of brothers who, let's say from the '60s, they looked at the brothers from the '70s a certain way, and the brothers from the '70s look at the brothers from the '80s a certain way, and it's almost kind of like, well, this is how you got it, and then you get it now, like, you know, like you would hear like a lot of brothers say that this is not a hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? They would stand on it. This is not hip hop culture, but you a lot of times in your class you build from that because that's how it came to you by music. You know what I'm saying? I mean, can you build on that, like, you know, referencing a lot of the knowledge you got in the music, you know, and how it came to you, and like versus like how some brothers may got it earlier versus how brothers may get it later on? Because I don't think a lot of people get into music nowadays. Anyway.
Yeah, people get in all these 18 years. I would say that most people get it. The artists that they've always most quoted that they were inspired by were either Wu or Nas.
Right.
That's just how it's been. I tell you, for me, like, it's hard for me to. The reason hip hop is so prevalent is because mostly every single student, 90% of them MC.
Nowadays.
Yeah, in my classroom over the years. So it's always been something that I focused on to try to get them to realize that this using the arts and culture is also how they can learn to write better and read better, and realize their own insights. You know.
Well, how would you weed out somebody who's just coming in here to try to be a better?
Oh yeah. That's happened all times. You know. Sometimes it's blatant. Though. Sometimes say, I just want to learn this stuff so I could, you know, reach the people. Oh, that's code. You know. That's clearly code because, you know. And then they would tell me and stuff, and a lot of times, then I would tell them my history in hip hop, and then it's clear because then now they want me to write stuff. They don't want me to teach them. They want me to write stuff about them. So then I know. But those people usually leave pretty quickly. They don't really last too long. And for them, in their mind, they use this one visit or two visits to justify that they're also down with this. So it doesn't.
So how can you justify?
Yeah.
You came to a class and that was it.
Yeah, that would be with their own bad music or whatever it would come to. But I've never really had a problem with that. But
I mean, but do you think that it's like problematic that a lot of us have gotten it through by way of the music, or do you look at it as a good thing? Because there's a lot of brothers who may look, you know, just like now, like it makes it like you get it from the internet, you know. You know, like it's.
Well, here's the difference, right? The way I see it, and the reason I love hip hop is because it is not a culture like the way we speak about culture, but it is a series of cultural expressions that are united for a cause of countercultural methods. In other words, or messages, to evoke countercultural messages.
Right.
So I've always been in line with that, and it's always been one that forces you to be a creator. But one of the things I find in the student is that they want to learn to be God, or they want to learn to be Earth, but they're not really learning to be a creator. And I find that totally in contrast to what we should be teaching. And because hip hop is a way of expressing your creativity that we created overtly and in this area, is something that I embrace. And that's really the reason I embrace it so heavily for myself as well. You know, I go out there and I say I made up my own element. So clearly I see a great significance in hip hop, you know. But most of the students, I'm not asking them to go do a rap song or do this.
Right.
If they're not inclined to that, or they don't even do that. And even if they are inclined, it has to be of their own nature. If a student asks me, well, I want you to hear my records, and that's their own downfall, because I will not be holding back, you know what I mean?
Right.
I will tell them why it's no good, or if it'll ever be good. Right?
Right.
But the thing about it is that most of the students, the majority of them know, they're interested, but they have very idealistic visions of the reasons of being an MC or anything else in hip hop. They want to do it to help their people, share messages and things like that. They have these really idealistic ideas. So I never trample on those things.
But what about like the super 5% who may critique you for teaching that way? You know
well, first I would have to take it on its own, like what specific thing. But what could they say? What could they really say? Because hip hop is really an arts and cultural expressions that we always had a hand in. That doesn't exist the way it does unless we did it. It's based on creative writing. It's based on creative expression, right? Most of the ideas, the foundation of MCing, this style of MCing, this bravado that comes across in MCing, the depth of insight in MCing, those really originate with us.
Right.
You know, so
I go back to like you say, well I could teach you and look at me.
So I would never get a class. I would never get a class where I would be throwing hip hop if I get classes with nobody that cares about hip hop. You know, when I find that it's part of their lives, because every student that comes in, I take a long time to find out what they do, what their interests are and stuff.
Right.
And the ones that don't really open up usually are the ones that are willing to do the least work. You see?
Or that don't open up.
Yeah, the ones that really don't give me answers or don't share much about what their life is are the ones that will do the least amount of things, because that's why they're not opening up. That's what I found in my experience. You know, so it depends on what the person is doing. I'm very into dealing with the person on their own terms and then teaching them what they need to know.
INFMEGA did this.